We just wrapped the story Unsave the Dates. I want to read to you the original story submission that came in that inspired the whole story. I did change this one quite a bit, but the base of the story is still there. As usual, I will not be looking at my phone because I will be reading directly from my laptop. Hi, I'm Tori. That's not my real name. I'm a huge fan and I love all these crazy stories you tell. It makes me feel more sane based on what happened to me. I really dodged a bullet and called off my wedding after my ex's mom planted the seed. For this story, please call my ex Kyle and his mother Eileen. I was engaged to a loser. I didn't see it then, but I see it now very clearly. I really did love him, and I was basically taking care of him, which he loved because he was a huge mama's boy. His mother disliked me from the moment she met me. It didn't matter about what I did to impress her. I was never good enough, and I just wasn't the type of girl she wanted Kyle to marry. We got engaged, and she basically ignored the fact that we were engaged. We booked the venue, and we started heavily into planning, including sending out our save the dates and booking all of our vendors. And then one day, I had a terrible accident at work. I won't go into the details, but it resulted in me being in a coma for over a week. They were not sure if I was going to make it for a minute. Eileen took it upon herself at that time to send out an unsave the date. She even called some of my vendors to give them a heads up that the wedding most likely would not be happening. I did not find this out until later. It's important for the story. When I came out of my coma, I took a ton of time to recover. I was not thinking about wedding planning at all, just getting back on my feet. It wasn't until my cousin reached out to tell me that he had received the unsave the date that red flags started going up. What was he even talking about? That's when I realized that someone had sent something out. It was an actual unsave the date invitation sent in the mail. My cousin showed me a picture. Now, there were only a couple of people that had the address list. Kyle, myself, his mother, and my aunt. Both of my parents had passed on already, and my aunt was assisting us in planning. I knew for a fact that my family would never do something like this without talking to me, which left Kyle and his mother. I told Kyle that his mom probably did this, and he totally denied it. He adored his mother and never thought she would do anything of the sort. After much digging, I realized that only my family members had received the unsave the date. All of my family assumed that Kyle sent it because of my injury, and they did not want to question him or bombard him with questions about the wedding. I assured all of them that the wedding was still going on, and I contacted all of my vendors to let them know that the wedding was still on. That's when one of my vendors told me that it was my future mother-in-law Eileen that called them to let them know the wedding was going to be canceled. This was confirmation that she was the one that did it. I took this information and I confronted Kyle with this news, and he stuck up for his mom and told me to drop it. Apparently, when I asked if she did it, it offended her and hurt her feelings, and Kyle felt that I needed to be respectful and apologize and make things right with his mother. After this accident at my work, several health complications occurred, leaving me with a very low probability of bearing children. This news was crushing to myself and to Kyle. We both dreamed of having a big family, and we spoke about our options together. I seemed optimistic for our future. Both surrogacy and adoption could be within our reach. One day, Kyle had his mother over, and I overheard them talking about how he should reconsider his marriage prospects because a biological child with me was most likely not in his future. What came out of Kyle's mouth next sealed the deal for my next steps in life. I thought he was going to stand up for me and talk about the options that we had discussed together, but instead, he put his tail between his leg and listened to his mother and agreed that the possibility of not having a biological child with me really upset him, and he was not sure if he could move past it with me. I tried to nicely bring this up several times in conversation because I feel like it was something important that we needed to discuss. He denied that he ever had a conversation with his mother about that topic. And if they did have a conversation, the comments that came from his mother were merely her looking out for him. I do feel slightly guilty that I found a journal that his mom gifted him. I decided one day when he was out of the house that I was going to read it. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. My gut was telling me to open it up and read it. The journal was very telling. It said a lot about me and what he was struggling with, and a lot about his mom and never wanting to disappoint or upset her, and how he was facing the decision to either pick me or his mother. After reading that journal, I quietly started plotting my departure. On my own, I reconnected with the vendors and I told them that we were breaking up. And somehow I got 80% of our deposits back. I took that money to book a trip to Hawaii for the next month. And one day, when Kyle and his mother were out of town together on their annual mother-son trip, they did these about 4 times a year and nobody else was ever invited, I decided I would pack up all of my stuff. My very best friend and my family all rallied behind me and helped get all of my things out of the place. And guess what? I took it all. The place may have been a rental that we both shared, but all of the decorations and the furniture were mine. The moment I got in the car and drove away, I felt relief. I was out, and I left him a very detailed note explaining my decision of why I was leaving. I also said that when he was ready to talk and get closure on our relationship, I would gladly sit and talk with him. I decided it was right to give him the ring back, which I did. He wasn't frantic when he returned back. I only got a text saying he'd like to talk in the next week. But his mother, she started sending me nasty texts. And the one time that we did meet up to talk through what had happened in our relationship, his mother showed up at the restaurant at the tail end. It was just a reminder that I made the right choice to leave him. I eventually moved on and I found the right guy. We are now happily married and we just adopted a beautiful little girl named Rosie. Kyle, I'm not so sure about. Last thing I heard, he moved back in with his mom and he started dating a new girl. Wishing them both the best. And that was it. So that was the story. I did obviously change it quite a bit at the ending. That's the fun about being a storyteller. The person that submitted this story is a really strong person, and I'm very happy she got her happy ending.